she probably told you that I'd ask this question. But at this point in time, we have the most popular sheriff in the United States who is investigating the President of the United States. I'm sure you're aware that there's an entire media blackout on probably, in fact, there's no probably about it, the biggest fraud and cover-up in the history of the United States, and probably the world. And as you know from the Watergate scandal, that would be handled in small claims court today. It was a minuscule thing. They were doing, you know, what do they call it, opposition research. But the big deal was the cover-up. So here we have a Republican Congress, the House, being led by John Boehner. Everybody's absolutely refusing to weigh in on this issue. So here we have Sheriff Arpaio. I don't know, have you seen his results? Okay. In my humble opinion, as always, he's proven without any doubt that the birth certificate is a forgery. The Selective Service registration is also a forgery. And without that, he can't serve in any office in the government. And of course, if he doesn't have a birth certificate, he can't either. The only document we're missing is the Social Security card, and we also know already, because E-Verify, rejected that, he's ineligible on all those accounts. Do you know anybody that in your life that doesn't have any one of those three things who's a legal citizen? You want to beat us? Okay, you're doing good, my friend. So, where do you stand on Arpaio's investigation on the question of whether Congress should investigate the President? And right now, they're absolutely refusing to do so. They're marginalizing anybody who even brings it up for blackmail. I confronted Jeff Flake the other day. I like Jeff. Jeff's a nice guy. He's a strong fiscal conservative. But he was adamant that he's a citizen, and I'd like to know on what basis. Anyway, so my question to you, Matt, is, where do you stand on his eligibility, and are you willing to tell the voters that you'll pursue this if elected?
Well, I'm
just
very
real quick.
concerned.
Let me interrupt. I'm so sorry. I didn't hear. Is this being recorded?
Yeah, it is. Obviously, it is.
All right.
Right.
And I'm sure Matt's not afraid to answer for the
No,
public.
he's not. Superstar.
Very good. Yeah, he's got that reputation. So.
Right. Well, let me tell you a few things. First of all, this president has engaged in numerous amounts of unconstitutional activities.
Amen.
The Obamacare is probably one of the single most unconstitutional activities in my lifetime. I believe that the Supreme Court will strike down the individual mandate in June. I believe that virtually every one of the czars that he has appointed since his presidency has been unconstitutional. There's plenty to go after this president about that he has done unconstitutionally. I think there have been significant questions raised about him, his background, that are very, very troubling. I don't believe that this Congress has been nearly forceful enough in dealing with him on every aspect. And I want to tell you something. I will challenge this president every which way that I possibly can. I think it's going to be moved because I don't think he's going to be reelected. I don't believe that this president will win this election. But should he prevail, I mean, right now we're, what,
7 months.
7 months away, and the likelihood that something is going to happen, from the top on down, from the courts, with this president between now and the election is slim to none. I think we have to focus our attention on this president, all of his unconstitutional activities, like laser beam, the things that Eric Holder has done.
Let me, if I can, interrupt. We're in agreement on all of this.
Right.
You're aware, for example, that in the state of Arizona, the legislature has apparently refused to act on the eligibility bill, which would prevent any, not just the president, any candidate from even appearing on the ballot if he cannot provide what you and I would have to provide, do have to provide, and every other citizen in not only the state but the country, just in order to obtain employment. And that's what, we employ this guy. So the Republicans in the House and Senate, Steve Pierce being the Senate President, Andy Tobin being the Speaker of the House, have refused to act on that bill. Okay, right now we have a petition, as you know, that was gathered last week at the Arpaio press conference in Sun City West. to have the Secretary of State, Bennett, require that he, we're not talking about anything complicated. I've written a book about this, as you know. I don't know if I gave you a copy or not. But
you did.
But the fact is, everybody has to provide this kind of documentation. And everybody in the room knows that someone who refuses, and he spent several $1 million. I've documented 1.7 million, and I have the records in the book. And I'm not the only one. This is all over the internet. Nobody spends that kind of money when for $10, and that even includes the postage, you can get a certified copy. Okay, now he fought that in court for 2 years. He's continuing to fight the release of that in court in Hawaii today. Okay, and so the point is, if he's not on the ballot in this state and in other states, and there is similar legislation in other states, then he doesn't even get a chance to be elected. Now, if it's proven, which Sheriff Joe has proven it, the problem we have is obviously some court, some judge willing to stand up. And whether that happens or not, it's the right thing to do.
Well, and regardless of what you or I say about whether or not he's a legal citizen or not, I think it's a given that he will be on the ballot. I don't believe that the courts are going to overturn that. And I respect all of this work that's been done, but I want to take him out more than I can say.
I'm sure you do.
This president has taken us down a ruinous path. I'm going to focus all of my time and my attention on the things that are going to be able to take him out the quickest. I don't believe that anything in this investigation is going to yield fruit before this election. I think that it diverts attention away from the things that will take him out of office, and I want to take him out.
I appreciate it. Matt, the only thing I'll tell you is that if he were removed, and I understand, although it doesn't, this is a constitutional crisis, and you obviously recognize
there are a lot of issues with this president that created a constitutional crisis.
Exactly. But the bottom line is, if he were removed from office, either now or later, and that will be my final question, will you support and will you go after him if he's reelected? If he's removed, everything he has done is null and void. The Supreme Court appointments, health care, financial reform, all of that, it's null and void the second that he's removed. So if he's reelected, will you in fact go after him, or if you're the only one in Congress to say that he should be investigated by the Congress in terms of his eligibility, will you do that if he is reelected and if you're elected?
I can't say that I would do that right now, because I believe that right now I've got to focus my attention on what I believe is going to take him out. I think this diverts attention away from, right now, I think the most critical issue that we face as a nation, and that is that we've got to defeat him in this election. And I believe that can stand on that.
I appreciate it. I got things to do. Thank you for your time. Good luck. Thank you.
Take two.
I'm Tom Ballantyne, and as you just saw, I interviewed candidate Matt Salmon for the United States Congress. And I was very impressed with Matt. I'd met Matt before, and when I said to Matt that I was wildly in support of you when we met, I don't say things that are not true, and that was true. And I'm still fairly impressed with Matt. However, you notice that I asked him if Obama were reelected and if he is elected to the Congress, would he at that point go after the president, i.e. have him investigated, or at least support and propose that he be investigated, demand that he be investigated for his eligibility, or I should say plainly for his ineligibility. And Matt, of course, said that he couldn't say for sure right now. Now, I realize that Matt's going to have plenty of things to do when he gets to Congress. But if, in fact, everything else he said is true, and we know that this man is, in fact, a fraud, his entire past has been covered, all of these key documents, we call them vital records, all of the vital records are proven forgeries, and anyone who doesn't know that obviously has not looked at the evidence, the proof, if you will, that has been produced by Mike Zullo and the cold case posse under Sheriff Joe Arpaio. And so the bottom line is, Matt, if you in fact know all of this and believe all of this and will have sworn to uphold your oath of office, why would you not investigate this man?